Forza Horizon 5, Need for Speed Unbound, and the Crew Motorfest all promise speed, freedom, and excitement, but go about doing that in very different ways. In this video, we'll put these games head to head across handling, graphics, gameplay, and more to find out which is the best open world racer, and stick around till the end for a side-by-side sound comparison. First up are the game worlds. The Crew Motorfest takes us to the Hawaiian island of Oahu, a vibrant location realistic in terms of its proportions, key landmarks, and cities, but cleverly condensed and contorted to fit its gameplay. Need for Speed Unbound drops you into Lakeshore City, a gritty, Chicago-inspired map built for urban chases with just enough space for some open highways and off-roading. Horizon 5 then takes on Mexico, cramming in jungles, deserts, and even a volcano between two coastlines, and I have to say it shares a lot of similarities with the Motorfest map. The Crew takes the crown for the largest map though, with a recent update adding the entire island of Maui as a completely free expansion. I think Forza should take some notes here. We'll come to graphics later, but the level of detail is impressive across all three locations. Each game has a day-night cycle. Motorfest and Horizon feature drag strips, stunt parks, and race circuits, whilst Unbound's tunnels and elevated train loop very clearly enhance its police evading gameplay. None of these maps feel underbaked. At first glance, these games may seem very similar, but their core gameplay sets them apart pretty distinctly. Motorfest leans into variety. Monster trucks, helicopters, boats, and even F1 cars break up the more typical road racing that you'll find elsewhere. The playlist system adds some structure, turning each set of races into themed experiences, from delving into car culture to pulling off stunts for a movie, or even integrations with the likes of Liberty Walk and Donut Media. The level of polish is really impressive. Custom cutscenes, unique assets, and colour filters make some playlists feel like their own minigame. Exploration is also unmatched thanks to the range of vehicles, and there's even a quick swap feature. So yes, you can drop a Chiron from low Earth orbit. Need for Speed Unbound, on the other hand, dials up the intensity with its police chases. Daytime races are all about placing as highly as possible to earn as much as possible, but at night the stakes skyrocket as the racing becomes illegal. Your heat level rises the more you race, and if you get busted, you'll lose everything you've earned that night. It adds a layer of tension and excitement that you just can't quite get in the other two games. The fact I've found myself pausing the game mid-chase before just to Google the best spots to escape should show you just how intense it can get. At heat level 1 you can slip away with some clever turns, but by heat level 5, if you're not in a seriously quick car, realistically you're probably Unbound is also the only game with a real narrative backbone. The animated style won't be for everyone, and I can't say that it deserves any awards just for the story, but the structure will be what some players are looking for. Horizon 5 is classic Forza, car-focused, festival vibes, and a map with all the variety you could ever ask for, from the tight city streets to open highways and off-road expanses. Collecting cars is a bigger focus than ever in this entry, with rewards for completing set collections. And of course, unique features like barn finds and the auction house, where you can buy cars off other players, are still here too. So while this game does deliver the textbook Horizon experience, I do feel like it's missing any big standout feature that sets it apart. Horizon showcase events used to be unrivaled, racing a plane or Halo tie-ins, and an experience that was so refined it just couldn't really be beaten. But now Motorfest grand races and playlists bring just as much polish, if not more. At this point, it's looking like Forza may be slipping back slightly compared to its competition. The fact it's a Horizon game no longer the same badge of unmatched quality it once was. With all that said though, we still have handling, graphics, and much more to look at, so don't go anywhere. Now before we move on to the cars, this video has been very kindly sponsored by Surfshark VPN. We all know the deal with VPNs by now, but Surfshark does so much more than you'd expect. They include a whole host of features like a full-blown antivirus built into their desktop app, and an alert feature which notifies you if your personal info is found online. My favourite extra feature has to be their cookie pop-up blocker. Not only are pop-ups annoying, but they're also dangerous. It's so tempting to just click accept all to quickly get rid of them, but this almost always has you agree to share your data with hundreds if not thousands of random companies. Combine this with their clean web functionality and you can now browse the internet without cookies and without ads. It's kind of like having YouTube Premium but for the rest of the internet, except it's also a lot cheaper, starting at just $169 a month. From a pure VPN point of view, Surfshark has everything you could ever need. One subscription covers an unlimited number of devices, yes, unlimited, and there's over 100 server locations to choose from. By connecting to a Surfshark server in your chosen location, you can access the Netflix shows blocked in your region, or the lower online prices available in other countries. And of course, there are huge security benefits of using a VPN too, especially if you ever use public Wi-Fi. So for some digital peace of mind and a load of other features, click the link in the description or go to surfshark.com/AGR deal for an extra 4 months free of Surfshark with a 30-day money-back guarantee. But back to the video. When it comes to car counts, Horizon 5 is unmatched, with over 800 cars on offer. Motorfest does boast 600 plus vehicles, but that includes boats and planes, making Forza's road car selection a clear winner, especially when it comes to the older classics and the more common models. Meanwhile, Unbound lags quite a long way behind with fewer than 200, but the gameplay does make up for it to an extent. You spend way more time upgrading, tuning and racing each car rather than almost hoarding them like in Forza, but we'll come to the progression soon. The customization of these cars uncovers some other big differences. For performance tuning, Horizon 5 and Unbound are leaps ahead. Radical engine swaps, turbos, and for Forza even drivetrain conversions, like making a 2-wheel drive car 4-wheel drive, give these games serious depth, affecting both performance but also the engine and exhaust notes. And Unbound even goes further by allowing you to adjust exhaust sound regardless of engine parts. Motorfest's loot-based system, on the other hand, where upgrades are just better numbered parts, doesn't quite hit the same at all. Yes, there are some arcadey intricacies, but for me at least, building a 1500 bhp M3 is far more fun than unlocking a 10% earnings boost. Oh, and you can engine swap in Motorfest, but it's a vanity part, which changes the engine sound and absolutely nothing else. I don't think many of us were particularly impressed by this one. On the visual customization side, each game has its own strength. Motorfest stands out with interior customization by allowing you to tweak colours and trim materials, a great touch for cockpit view players. Externally, it's good for making smaller tweaks like the layout of lights on bumpers or different combinations of carbon parts. Unbound is all about aggressive body kits and seeing who's got the biggest wings or widest fenders. It's packed with sets of parts that work well together and offers a very consistent experience between cars, likely thanks to its reduced vehicle list. Horizon 5, despite some criticism for having repetitive cosmetic parts, brings depth that the other games can't match through the way that parts affect performance. A big wing, for example, will add weight, drag and downforce, which lowers top speed but improves handling. This helps the tuning feel a lot more like the balancing act it is in real life. A top speed build will of course perform differently to a race build in all of these 3 games, but in Forza it'll also look different on the outside, just as it should. Now onto a very hotly discussed topic, handling, and fortunately it's pretty easy to categorise the driving feel in each of these games. Unbound is by far the most arcadey. You can tap the throttle to engage a drift, for example, and that's often just as quick as taking a corner smoothly. To be clear, arcadey handling doesn't mean bad handling though, simply less realistic. And to give Unbound some credit, the weight transfers are really well communicated, with slower, heavier models requiring a good command of the car's weight to be quick in races. Horizon 5 is on the opposite end of the spectrum. At launch, it boasted the detail in its handling physics, and it clearly shows. It's certainly the most realistic driving experience out of these games, and it also feels great on a wheel, so it's a bit of a shame that there's only one closed loop track, although with the Events Lab feature you can race on player-made circuits. Executing good drifts, for example, takes a lot more skill in Forza than in the other 2 games, and you'll ideally need a car that's properly set up to do so. Motorfest then sits in the middle of the other 2 games. The handling is leaps ahead of its predecessor, the Crew 2, where any remotely upgraded car handled like it was glued to the road. Now you actually have to get your braking points right, and there's generally a more pronounced difference in feel between cars, both within and across the disciplines. Even with that though, it just can't quite match the refinement of Forza's physics, which is still the game to go for if realism is what you're after. Next up is graphics, where each game once again takes a slightly different approach. Motorfest stands out with its vibrant and dynamic colour palette, which changes according to the playlist you're playing. Lighting and reflections are very impressive, and the general look of the game pops more than the other 2. Unbound leans into its cartoon-inspired effects, which can be turned off, but they certainly enhance the sense of speed, and I must say that this game nails that better than the other 2. While its overall visual quality lags behind, it excels at night. Streetlights, reflections, and well-designed lighting make nighttime driving feel natural rather than a slog. Horizon 5, on the other hand, is all about photorealism. Its lighting, approach to colour, and insane amount of detail make it the most realistic looking of the 3. If I had to pick one to spend time in photo mode with, it would be Horizon every time. Ultimately, Motorfest is the most eye-catching, Horizon the most realistic, and Unbound shines at night. But if you want to see a more in-depth side-by-side, then check out my comparison video linked in the description. Finally, before we get to the conclusion and then sound test, I want to touch on each game's progression, replayability, and multiplayer. Unbound is the most grindy game. cars and upgrades take real effort to earn, making them feel a lot more rewarding. The roughly 30-hour story campaign is detached from the online mode, with progression completely separated, and that multiplayer serves as the main late game focus. Whilst 16-player lobbies are smaller than Horizon's 24 and Motorfest's 32, Unbound's multiplayer system does encourage you to have good cars in each performance class, which prevents you from just maxing out one OP car. Modes are solid too, with the recent lockdown mode adding a fresh team-based twist, involving contracts and banking cash, all whilst avoiding the cops, of course. Horizon 5 thrives on car collecting. If you enjoy hunting for and racing different models, it has endless replayability, and the exclusive cars you can earn through the Horizon playlist do add some endgame viability. The auction house adds to the depth of collecting, and letting players create and share custom events via Events Lab means there's a constant stream of new races. But it's by far the least grindy, and arguably it's gone a little bit too far. Even the starter cars in Horizon would take hours to unlock in Unbound. By starting with a brand new Corvette, many players will just skip the proper rags to riches sort of progression that, in my books, is a big part of a good open world racer. And the super wheel spins only make things worse. Yes, I am just as addicted to spinning that wheel as the next player, but why work towards owning a dream car when you can just win a Chiron after your first race? Multiplayer is reasonably strong with the expected PvP modes, as well as the likes of the Battle Royale style Eliminator game mode and Horizon Arcade minigames, amongst others. I can't say it's the best experience in terms of stability or loading times, but the player count remains solid, which leads to generally full races. Motorfest once again sits in between the other two, less grindy than Unbound, but a harsher economy than Horizon. The playlist system defines the progression, and multiplayer is strong, whilst free roaming with friends is made a lot of fun by boats, planes and monster trucks. The highlight though is certainly the Grand Races, huge 28-player events where you seamlessly switch between 3 different vehicle types mid-race. And with these races refreshing every 20 minutes, it's very easy to lose hours to this mode. Demolition Royale is also a fun twist on Demo Derby and is somewhat inspired by Forza's Eliminator, whilst weekly summits provide an endgame challenge, rewarding exclusive cars and other items to the top-ranking players. Finally, it's worth noting that Unbound has now come to the end of its update cycle, and Horizon 5 is beginning to wind down. Motorfest shows no sign of regular updates stopping though, with more playlists on the way, and given the fact that the Crew 2 got updates for 6 years, I think we're in pretty safe hands. So then, before I leave you to make your own judgment on the sound comparison, we have 3 games here which are all pretty damn good when everything is considered. If you're looking for realism, graphics, or play simply for the love of cars, then Horizon is an easy pick, as long as you don't mind its quick progression. If you're up for a very structured experience that rewards more of a grind, focuses on street racing only, and has the added excitement of police chases, Unbound is your game, even if its days of live service may be over. But if you want an overall great open world racer with the best variety, enjoyable progression, and ongoing content updates, then Motorfest is what I'd have to recommend. Despite lackluster performance tuning, I believe it is the safest option that can truly be enjoyed by the majority of players. But comment down below which game is your favourite and why. Anyway, that's all from me, so here's the sound test.